Welcome back to the Professional Evil Fundamentals. I'm Kevin Johnson, and as with all the rest of these, I'm presenting these ideas. So we're going to continue in the Fundamental series, the sub-series of the OWASP Top 10. Now, like we've talked about before, this is the 2017 version of the OWASP Top 10, and sometime later this year, in 2020, the Top 10 is due to be updated, but this is A9. So with A9, application risk number 9 is using components with known vulnerabilities. Now, this is a pretty broad category from a perspective of what does it cover? Well, it covers anything that is part of your web application that has vulnerabilities that are known. And I know that sounds so straightforward, but it's actually very common for people to feel like, well, yeah, but what do I have to worry about, or what do I have to pay attention to? And really, this much of it can be handled by your patch management process. So if your application server is missing patches, well, you know what? Your patch management process should fix that. Where we see a lot of problems for development is in client-side stacks. And so I'm going to focus a little bit on those today. They're actually pretty simple to find. As applications become more complex, and even if they weren't that complex, we're using a lot of client-side code. And what we see happen a lot of times, heck, I've been guilty of it myself in my own applications, we use a library like jQuery or Bootstrap or whatever, and then we don't maintain that library. We don't monitor it for vulnerabilities or updates. An easy way to find this, remember when we did the burp setup, I added that tool called, that extension called retire.js. Well, here's where it reports in. Now, if you see on the screen, I've visited the different targets, and we'll see that here in Dojo-Basic, we have this finding under issues. Now, like we said, this is a feature of the professional version, but retire.js is an open source project. This just happens to be a plugin for it using that open source project. You can use retire.js in your browser, in which case it'll show up in the developer's console, or there's a lot of other ways to do it. But here we see that, you know what? At dojo.basic.wtf/js/bootstrap.min.js, so it's the minified version of Bootstrap, we're running 3.3.7 according to retire.js. I will tell you, it is correct. And that one is pretty old, and it's saying, hey, anything before this version, 3.4.1, is vulnerable, and then it gives you links out to information. We also see that we're using a vulnerable version of jQuery, right? Same exact type of thing. Hey, this version has known security problems. If you're before this version, which, hey, that's 2 major revs later, right? You have this issue. And so what I always do is during the mapping phase of the penetration test, I'm looking for these types of things to go verify. Now, don't forget that just because you're using the library doesn't mean you're vulnerable to the attack against that vulnerability. Because since these are client-side code, it really depends on if you're using the vulnerable version, feature within that version. Now, that's not me saying don't patch, don't update. All I'm saying is don't panic when you see these things. This should be part of your development lifecycle. It should be part of what you feed back into those sprints to fix. But here's how you find them. Very simple. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy this series. And as with all the rest, if you have any questions or comments or feedback, we'd love to hear them either below. You can email us, with the email address training@securideas.com, or you could visit our Professional Evil Slack channel. Thank you.